everybody. Welcome to the meetup today over DevOps. We have a small agenda. Everybody had the pizza. Gonna give you a small intro talk. Oh, I'm walking to the picture. We have a first session from Vivek Anand. He's an internal developer at ABN AMRO, senior developer, and his team made already in transition to DevOps, and he wants to share his experience. And after the break, we have Thiago de Varia, Link IT, and he will also have a talk about breaking the ivory towers using DevOps. After that, we have drinks, networking, and it's now stated a raffle because we're going to give away free tickets. Oh yeah, also we are hiring. If you see a nice job, always nice, huh? We're going to give away tickets for the IT Next Summit. I think Thiago can tell us everything about what's it about.
Hello everyone. First, my talk is not going to be 1 hour, so rest assured, I'm not going to bore you to death. But about the summit, we're going to do now in October 3rd, October 30, here in Amsterdam in the Pakhuis des Zwijger. And it's a one-day conference, a little bit technical. And we're going to have 3 tracks on it. One of the tracks is about DevOps, the other one data engineering, and the other one JavaScript. And on the DevOps one, we're going to have Liz Fong. She was the first SRE at Google. Now she has her own company doing it. We're also going to have Chris Nova that wrote the book Cloud Native Reliability. And we're going to have amazing speakers there. We have a few tickets left, so if you don't get this on the raffle, just go and have a chat with us. I can give you a discount for sure.
Hey, thanks. Also, we're going to give away 2 tickets for JFall, Java JFall. It's on the 31st of October, 3-1. So one day after the IT Next Summit. And we first were thinking about a raffle, but we're going to give away the tickets to the people who ask the best questions to the speakers. So listen carefully if you have a good question. Okay, and then I want to give the word to Vivek, our first speaker. Give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meetup. My name is Vivek, and I've been working as a Java developer. Now I'm supposed to be called myself as a DevOps engineer because we are in the transition of we finished also, I could say, the transition from being just a developer to being a DevOps guy. And that's what I'm going to talk. Though the title says Journey to Serverless, I'm also going to talk about how did we move to serverless along with our journey to the DevOps. That's the agenda for today. I'm going to quickly talk about the bank's journey. How did we start and as a bank, not as a team. Then more focusing on the team that I work for, what we do, and how did we move. Moving our monolithic application from on-prem to the cloud, which is going to be both behavioral, which is about the DevOps journey, and also I'm going to talk a little about technical. By default, I'm a developer, so it just comes out. And also the CI/CD implementation. And in the last, I believe there will be enough time for questions, but if you still have any questions in the middle, please raise your hand and we'll try to address it. So to begin, my first question would be, before you guys ask me a question, so I will ask you one. How many of you are a DevOps engineer over here? Okay, quite a few. How many of you are in the plan of going to become a DevOps team? That's good. So, if at all, if I'm not able to answer the question that is asked, there are some DevOps engineers here, so they can help me with those answers. right? Cool. So talking about the bank's journey, we started in 2015 to move towards agile. That was our first step. The bank started thinking like what the outside world was doing and how do we cope up from the IT perspective. And we first started was with the agile transformation. After the agile transformation, for this we had various workshops that was conducted, like trainings on Scrum methodology or trainings on Kanban methodology to handle your change team and to handle your run team and things like that. Following that, in the year 2016, we moved to the CI/CD setup, and where we started focusing on the tools that we had to start making use, because the tools that were available outside are more fast, more reliable, because it's used by many people outside world. So we started focusing on that. And then in 2017, we started thinking more, what can we do for IT? As an IT, what can we do? Because in the bank, we are more focused on doing things that's more meant for the business. We have to deliver services that is more useful for the bank. But that's where we started with a thing called IT for IT organization, where since we already are in an agile way of working by then, we save some time, or we allocate some time in our regular sprint to think and focus on our transformation as a team. And this is where also it led to us to move to the public cloud, which is in this case AWS or Azure. And so we also got an opportunity to see how this works, because within the on-premises, you're restricted or limited to do a lot of things, right? Like the way AWS and Azure is, as on-prem, you cannot focus on all those things. And as a bank, we don't want to focus on those things. We are more focusing on solutions to the end customers. So we started exploring on the hybrid cloud setup, and we had some pilots, and one of our teams, that was my team, we were also part of this pilot, and we chose AWS, and which we will talk later. And in 2018, we started continuing to improve ourselves, learn more about the operations way of working, setting up more matured CI/CD pipelines and operation tools like Splunk and things like that, so that eases our day-to-day activity. And right now, in 2019 and the year forward, we'll be focusing more on DevOps. We want every team to be independent and run shows on by themselves. That's about the bank journey. Now coming back to my team, that's what is my team called as Enterprise Risk Assessment and Approval. And I work for a grid called Corporate Credits, where what we do is like we give loans to the corporate customers. And as a team, ERA, we build risk services, and these services are used to, to give an advice whether a given customer, can he be given a loan or not. Based on the inputs that we receive, we do our calculations using some rules, and we send back either red, amber, or green, saying that you can give him a loan or you cannot give him a loan, or there's a side workaround for that. Yeah, as you could see, this is how we were, and many of you can relate this. Like we had one big application running on one VM. There might be a possibility there's another big application which is also running on the same VM, but we are not sure. And if any of our services go down, then we are really not sure which service is gone down, because one service can impact the other service because it's all in one big WAR file or an EAR file. So that's the reason we wanted to move to the new environment and new way of working. That's where we chose we should go for microservices. Yeah, we did this and we were happy, and we are now having some good results of this. At least we can know at least where exactly is the issue and start fixing that issue rather than searching for where the issue is. A simple example for this would be like, I would just relate it to my home. Like we had a home and we were stacking up with a lot of things, but the size of the home was small. And our application is more like a baby, right? That's what in a DevOps world, because though I have been working here for 2 years in this bank, but overall as a DevOps guy, I've been working for 6 years. So one of my lead told me this thing. So your application is like your baby, so it's up to you how you're going to handle this. So once you have the responsibility, you start thinking how you can make this environment more safe for the kid, more useful, and more like more space and more exploration, right? You want to give a very good environment. That's the whole idea. And the same concept was applied over here. So, but it came up with a lot of responsibilities. And that's what we're going to talk about in the thing of our transition from just being a team which is ops and dev working separately. This is how we were, where the ops team is completely like IT, infra team, application maintenance team, and functional maintenance team, whereas the dev side is the people like me who are a developer and also testers with us, and the business developers who gather the business requirements. We never had a direct interaction. We always had to either use emails or some change request tools to talk to each other, and we don't know each other who's working where, and how do we operate these things. So that's where we had a trouble. Like, for example, take a scenario where there's an incident and the ops guy keeps working and he doesn't know how to fix it because he doesn't know where exactly is the issue. As I showed in your previous slide, it can be because of service 1, but he's still looking at the issues on the service 2. So what we thought is like, how do we do this? How do we make it more better? Need not to be only the ops side. It can also be the other way, where a developer is working on his change, but he doesn't know what changes that has been done by the ops world, having fun over there, and we don't know what's happening, and we are lost. Sometimes it can be even worse, right? Where you keep working the whole night, which not many prefer, but that's how it's. So what did we do? The first thing as a team, what we did was we broke this wall. What do you mean by you broke this wall? What we did is like we collaborated together. That means physically we moved to one single location and we started working together. Where that means we had the infra team, functional maintenance team, application maintenance team, and our developers all sitting together and collaborating. That definitely gave us a big difference because as a developer, I could really understand what this infra guy is really doing and why is he delaying stuff and how can we help him. So we started working together more like a team. So that was our biggest thing. So once we started collaborating and we started becoming a team, we still didn't go to the new way of working, right? We are still in the same old monolithic application. But in order to go to the new way of working, that is like hosting in the cloud or coming with the microservices approach, we had to move to DevOps. Because with DevOps, we had more responsibilities, I would say, and more fun because you know what's happening and you know how to solve things. These are some of the workshops, I would say, that was conducted in the bank where Moonshot and Mars Landers are nothing but like a one-day workshop that we had just to give us more good feeling about each other, to understand how really the change world works. Like as a run guy, I will not really know what a change team is facing the issues on a day-to-day stuff. So there were some scenarios like this, and there was an external team which was helping us to work and collaborate as a team. Similarly, with the Mars Lander, we started, like as a developer, I started learning more how a run team works and how we can collaborate more. Like there may be some places where he is missing some information, which I know, so I can step in there and work as a team. See, the whole idea was like how you work as one team. So that's what this journey is all about. And these workshops really helped us. And a DevOps playbook that was set by the bank. This is more like a guidelines that was set in the bank saying that if you want to go to DevOps, because we are going to the new world, right? It's AWS and you're exposed to a lot of things and you have to know how to protect yourself. It's like you're moving to a new house with all new smart stuffs, but are you sure that you're safe? No. We have to know how to make ourselves safe, how to protect our data and things like that. The same concept was applied here. So after we collaborated, we started working together, and after all this journey, this really helped us in our team. So again, coming back to a simple example, like for example, if my wife is ill or she's out somewhere, busy with work, and I have a baby to take care, then if I don't know to cook, then it'll be a trouble, right? So I need not to be an expert, but I can always be like manage this thing, like at least cook something for the kid so the kid is fed and he goes to sleep. The same concept was here. So as a developer, we started picking up the other team members' activities. So we started knowing what they're actually doing, how they are doing. So I like the infra guy started knowing what the developer is doing. So he was able to assist the developer saying like, why can't we do like this? Okay, oh, since you're doing it like this, why can't we move things like, why can't we build an infrastructure something more cloud native? Similarly with developer and testers. Like a developer started knowing more scenarios from the tester, and he started moving everything to the unit level testing rather than moving from the system level testing. He started moving more closer to the developer in the unit level testing. So basically, it became a kind of a cyclic thing where every person started filling up the other person's spot. Need not to be an expert, but at least it's very nice that he started knowing how the others work. So if there is any problem, he can step in there and he can start solving those things. So with this said, we became one team, and we started developing together. Our productivity really became better because we started to becoming more agile. So we started filling up the others' issues and other spaces, and it helped us to do a lot. So as we become, like, how do I say, matured enough as a DevOps engineer now we had to set our roadmap to reach to the cloud. So this is how we did, in a simple way, with the team's capacity that we have, knowing the limitations that we have. We started choosing the technology, the tools. The whole idea was our productivity should be better, security cannot be compromised at any given point, and reduce the operations activity as much as possible. So try to automate things wherever it is possible. So these were the three factors that we kept in mind, and we started developing our things. So with that, we moved from our old home to this new home, which is called the AWS Cloud, and we're quite happy with that, and we also are now constantly innovating. That's the whole idea. Every sprint or every 2 sprints, we talk about new things that we can do. As I said, we now also think about IT for IT. So we start thinking, how do we make it better? Since it's already a microservice-based approach, things are small, things are easy to do, and we can always try new things and make it more nicer. Now, shifting my role to a typical developer, this is our architecture design. We are building our application on serverless. So we use Lambdas, and Lambdas are event-driven, so we use an API gateway to call our Lambdas, and of course, there's security that is coming into picture. So we use WAF, which is nothing but a firewall, basically a wall around your house, to ensure that not other people try to access your service other than the users that you really want to allow them to use. In this case, this is like more an internal application, so we allow only the ABN AMRO users to use this. And we also additionally have additional security, like the security cams. So we use the authorizer for that, and which also checks more on a token-based authentication if things are okay, and it allows us to further access the service. Moving on, and as I said, we innovate and we keep trying to change our framework as soon as possible and as small as possible, so that there is no big impacts. So I would also just touch upon the CI/CD implementation that we are doing. We use 2 things. As you saw the roadmap, we use Jenkins for our CI, and we use AWS Code Pipeline for our CD. This is more of what our live, it's my live application code, and which I ran some couple of days back. So we check out, we use Maven for building things, and for security stuffs, we use HP45, Nexus, and Sonar. So 45 is more for the static code, Sonar is more like for your codes to check if things are okay, and Nexus is more like the dependencies. So the vulnerabilities that can occur because of the dependencies that you add, because many things are open source, so open source cannot be taken for granted. And since we are working as a part of the bank, it's very important for us that we take care of these things very carefully. Once that is done, we push this to our repository, and from that we call our AWS thing. So on the CD part, we use AWS services. We have one single pipeline that takes care of end-to-end. So a click from there, maybe 2 more clicks, your code is directly into the production. That's what we do. So we use code build to do the build part, and then we use the deploy part, which is the code deploy from the AWS, where you update your CloudFormation stacks. And we also have integrated the automation testing in this. So if at all, if your test cases fail, we stop here, we send the reports to your email. That's how we have configured. We send the reports to the email, and we see what is going wrong, and we try to fix the issue, and again, we redo this whole process. If things are okay, and this is what we have been planning, and this is what we have been doing, we give from here the onus to our product owner or our scrum master. So he or she should pick this up activity of saying like, okay, can we go to the next environment? And so on a click, all he has to do is just say yes or no. If he says yes, as we work for the bank, we also have to keep logging all these things, like what are the changes that we are going to the next level. So we do a ServiceNow change management tool. So we create a ServiceNow request over there to tell what are the things that are getting deployed purely for an audit purpose. And from there, we continue with our TA deployment. And further, we again continue with our TA automation testing. So the same thing repeats again. So we again come back. We do the same. So it's all in the same pipeline. So once things are okay, once your end customer gives a go in your TA environment, the product owner now clicks OK, and we deploy it to the production. Cool. Yeah. So finally, we are a DevOps team with all this setup. As I showed you, the CI, the CD, the knowledge, the behavioral shift. Rather than saying it's not your job, it's not my job. Now it's like we are one team. It's like our job, no more your job or my job. But as we are part of the bank, we always have this center of expertise everywhere in different areas. For example, software development, clients, our COE operations, and the security team. We try to always keep constantly in touch with these guys. Even in fact, during our roadmap also, we were in discussion with all these people, trying to get all their inputs, collaborate all those ideas together, and make our plan. So any application that we are going to build, we will definitely get all these advices so that we become more responsible. Because now it's no more like it's your fault or my fault, it's like our fault. So we have to be very clear, and we have to start building it more responsibly. Actually, it really helped. If you see, initially we had a lot of incidents. We just left it because the run team used to take care of it, so they have to fix it. So it will come after 2 days or 3 days to us. But now it's not the case. If you have an incident, you will be solving it immediately. So with that, you get to know, okay, this is my mistake, so I have to fix this. And also it adds some additional responsibility to yourself, saying that, okay, we have to deliver a better code if we don't want to be disturbed, right? And it's a very clear showcase, because it's easy to track now who's doing what, because we are all in the same team. It's not about the blame game, but it's all about the responsibility that you would take as an individual in a DevOps team. Yeah, my conclusion is like, we should, along with the CI/CD, I think continuous learning is a very key thing for a DevOps team. And definitely it will improve our productivity, which we have seen in our team. And if you ask me, like the example that I showed for the CI and the CD, is this the way that the bank is going to do, or is this the way that everybody is going to operate? No. For example, we have a different CI/CD implementation if it's an on-prem, where we use Excel release and things like that. And if it's a container, we have a totally different thing, because we have additional security checks on the containers and things like that. But we all follow the same guidelines, so that we all adhere to the bank standards. We do not compromise on the standards that has been set by the bank. So that's it. Questions? Yeah. Okay. Sorry? No. Yeah. I'm closing. So this one. Mhm.
you need to check their possibly private information, the answers are provided by the customer. How do you manage the access to that information?
Well, in our case, okay, the question is like, how do you get the access or the privileges to the customer data to uh, to check if the customer is can be given a loan or not, right? On a short.
It's rather how do you manage the compliance here of the access to their private information of the customers.
Okay. Well, there are two ways. One, we totally do not manage. As I said, we are more only an application which advises whether you can be given a loan or not. There's another team which completely manages the customer input. But for example, the data that we receive from from that service to ours, we ensure that we enable all the encryptions on the transit. Also, we also ensure that the encryptions are enabled even in the data when is it at rest. So this is our first basic thing that we do. And then the next thing that we try to do is like we see, okay, how are we going to communicate? Are we communicating is over the internet? Are you communicating within the premises? Or are you communicating like you can always have a tunnel between on-prem and an AWS cloud, right? So these are the other ways that you can look into. So in bank, we have something called CIA rating, which is confidentiality and integrity and availability, if I'm not wrong. So in this, based on the rating, as I said in the previous slide, 2 slides back, we constantly get the advice from these teams. So in this case, for your question, we will go to the CISO team. We will ask them, okay, this is the data. This is how the sensitivity is marked as. How do we do it? We, as DevOps, we already come up with a solution for this, but we definitely would like to get their thing because they are like the biggest wall around us. So we take their advice and guidelines. Two, two, two. Sorry? It is quite public, but the data that we receive, it need not to be public. So our CIA rating is also under the, how do I say, reconsideration, because now we are going to deal with some sensitive customer data as well. So
Yes.
that's
So
something.
Since your application is like 222, then you are saying that you are having the customer data. Then how you are making sure the customer data follow the GDPR rules?
Well, we do not have the customer data. That's what I said. We are a stateless service. We do not store a lot of customer information. We only store our informations that we do. We do not store any sensitive information about this.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, if you are dealing with customer data, that also with public cloud, we have solutions. I'm from, okay, let me introduce, I'm from CBSP AWS team with ABN AMRO Bank. Recently, there is a standard which has been approved by CISO, with which we can store customer data in public cloud. There are extra security layer that has been added to the database. With that, you can deal with the customer data. There should not be any problem. I'm sorry, I cannot share the solution because it is really very confidential to the bank. But yes, we have implemented the solution. And there are teams, 1 to 2 teams, who have started using customer data in public cloud.
Okay. There's other.
Could you go to your CI/CD pipeline slate,
I mean,
the one with showing the pipeline, or maybe this one or next one? So
I think
question
Neil
is,
will be.
it's like a double question. First, to you as a developer, and maybe you can also speak for your other developers.
Mhm.
How do developers feel about sort of growing complexity of dealing with so many different tools? And looking pipelines, so your pipeline includes Jenkins, SonarQube, Fortify, Cold Pipeline. So there seem to be so many sources of truth and different reports and information. And looking at DevOps, this means that the development team needs to master all those tools, needs to get insights from all those different tools. So what's the usual response from the development team with dealing with all these tools? Also, maybe a second sort of question, how does the infrastructure team feel about maintaining such a complex layout of different tools and tool chains.
Okay. For the developer part, I can answer. For the infra, again, I leave it to Neil to answer. Okay. From the developer's perspective, well, for me, when I joined the bank, initially I was also very frustrated with all these things because I was working for an e-commerce based industry before, where things were very simple, one single pipeline where you had things. But you have to see the larger picture. Like, we are working for a bank where security is a prime thing, right? So, and we cannot compromise on that because we are forced to report all the regulatory stuffs to the DNB and ECB, and if they make this as a mandatory, it is necessary. And personally, I also started believing that it is necessary because it also helps you to make yourself as a better developer. So if you already know, like for example, with Sonar, you might know what are the issues that you face commonly, right? So with that, if you already have faced this 2 times, and if you really don't want to get into this annoying situation again, looking into that issue, you would become a better developer and start developing better. And the other things which is about, like for example, the artifacts that we use, the dependencies that we use are not really from us, right? We always use a third party. Like any framework that we use is from somebody. And how confident are you about that? Nobody knows because it's an open source. So in open source, it's possible that anything can go wrong. I'm not saying all, but anything can go wrong. So it's better that we have these measures. And this is only one-time activity, right? The setting up the whole pipeline is one-time activity, which is definitely a pain of time, I would say. But it's a good learning. You will really know what you're doing. I mean, personally, I have been doing this. I've been setting up the whole pipeline, CI and CD, for my team. So I almost spent a month, though I said like I'll do it in a week. No, it's not the case because I wanted to understand everything. Why is there, like, as you asked, the same question I started asking. First of all, our question was like, why are we having a separate CI and why are we having a separate CD? Because we are using AWS, and AWS itself, you can have a lot of other services which can do the whole thing. But as a bank, we have to have a single line of reporting, right? So we had to maintain all those reporting things, and we need to have it in a single platform. Made as a small team, for me, it's okay. I can do things by myself, but imagine from the bank, which has like 350 plus agile teams. So if they have to collect all this team's information, it's not possible. So that's the reason they came up with the common platforms, and we have to adhere to that. But I would definitely say it's really nice. First, as I said, first 1 week was a pain, but later you will start knowing the interesting stuffs of it, and you will become a better and a mature developer. There's a question. Hope it's clear for you. The mic is coming.
Thank you, Adi. Vivid, thank you for the presentation. If I may ask from the operational point of view, when you developed this, or the whole development and this baby, did you actually look at your sister's baby of other bank in order to base your development? That is one question. And my second question is, can this development actually be applied to private businesses, or is it very unique for ABN? And lastly, were you inspired by your own baby? Could you have a baby?
Okay. I don't know if you're talking about the personal life or professional life. On the personal life, I already have a son who's 3 years old. On the professional life, going back, of the microservices that I had shown you, the first service that was built was like my own baby in this team. But we have been doing this since I said like I've been working with previously in an e-commerce industry as well. So we had to take care of even take care of the other's baby. So somebody left that baby and I had to take care also. So the minute you are there, it's your baby. So take care of it properly. That's what I would say. And your next question is like applicable to these things. Yes. If you see, what we are doing is also we are learning from others, right? So that's the reason of having this meetup and sharing these slides. If I couldn't share this, then I wouldn't have put this up over here. So this is more a common platform And in IT, it's now a very common thing that you try to share a lot of information. Yes, you can make use of everything that you want in this, or you can also optionally choose what is best for you. If it's a very small industry, you really don't need to do too many code quality stuff. But it depends what data you're going to store, what kind of information are you going to store, and things like that. Based on that, you have to assess those things, adhering to the rules of the GDPR and whatever, and then based on that, choose the tools for the security perspective. As I said, that's why I wanted to conclude that, is this the way? No, every team is unique, and you can have your own thing. There are various other several open source tools available in the market, and you can use one of those also. These are like the paid versions, but you can have your own free version also.
Can I have an insight? Is it the only bank that is doing this?
Well,
Breaking the wall?
I'm not sure about things, but I know like Rabo is using PCF, for example, which is Pivotal Cloud Foundry. ING is having its own in-house DevOps team, so they have their own platform. Maybe there's somebody from ING who can talk about that during the break. Everybody has their own way. Even as you said, like we started moving to the hybrid cloud or to the public cloud like 2 years back, right? From 2018 is where we have been more strongly moving towards that. And we are also learning on a day-to-day thing. Our security team is learning, our software development team is learning, our testing team is learning, and we as a team also are learning. So the good thing is, like, since we are like the few of those DevOps teams, we are in the early journey, we can sit with these guys, brainstorm, like, okay, I saw something like this, so there are good, well-architected frameworks on the, how do you say, on the platforms, on the internet, learn those things and see how it can be useful to you. That's what we do. So we took some ideas from outside, which is published in the public, and we take from that.
Nice. Thank you.
Are they? Enough time.
You said you mentioned the transition from microservice architecture, from a monolith to a microservice architecture.
Yeah.
So I have two questions about that. Can you say how many microservices you have now from that transition, and
Well, our
and the other
monolith.
question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, it's your second question.
Sorry.
Maybe I
And,
might forget.
in that transition, what kind of challenges did you face? I mean, in that transition to a decoupled architecture.
First, to your first question, we had one monolithic application which is having 5 services. Not big, this is all it was, but the complexity was slightly different. Some things were very easy, some things had its own complexities. So, as I said, like, because of the complex application, there was a problem even with the simplest application also. So that's the reason we moved to microservices. And during this transition, what are the phases or the troubles that we face? The first thing is, like, we were all super excited that we are going microservices. Wow, that was very nice to hear, because that was a buzzing word 2 years back, even now as well. But the next thing was like choosing the right technology with the capability of the team. Because I can directly say I can start coding right now in Python, but I should also see if my team also is able to code things on Python. So because end of the day, we have to deliver business values, and we have to also fit with our day-to-day activity. So we have to do this transition, but also ensuring that our business activities are also happening smoothly. So this is one of the challenges that we faced. And the next thing is like the knowledge. Since we decided we moved to the AWS world, nobody in the team was an AWS developer at that time. So we had to learn this thing, because to become a DevOps, you have to know what is AWS, right? Because that was one of the minimum criteria. So we started learning about DevOps. So the learning path was the next thing that we had to focus. The third thing was the transition between one role to the other role, where this, initially I was worried how this is going to happen, because we had 2 business developers in the team, completely from the non-IT background. How are they going to pick things from the IT background stuff? It can be infra, it can be testing. How? How do we make them also be a part of this team? Because this is one team, not one person's journey, it's a one team's journey. How do we make them involved? how do we get their interests? How do we make them feel interested about few things like cloud, for example? We started giving some demos, some videos by AWS, which was already in YouTube. We started showing those things, some good business cases that was there. How easy, the idea was like we didn't want to go for a big jump. We wanted to do small by small, step by step. So how easy for a person it can be to move from one role to another role. So these were the things that were our challenges, which we also marked it in our roadmap thing. And we also took along with our roadmap, these are the things that we have to achieve in the next, say, every month. That's how we set the target. But this journey took us almost 1 year or 1 year, 3 months. It wasn't easy. I hope I answered your question.
Hi. Recently, there is an announcement within ABN AMRO that you are not allowed to use serverless or Azure functions. And the reason given was because there are some unexplored security risk within it. So since you have already implemented it, do you see any security risks? And the next part of the question will be, since you are forced to move to EKS or the Kubernetes-based architecture, do your application gain something or lose something in that migration?
Okay. To answer your first question, well, it's not stopped. It's just on hold for the new applications to move to the serverless way of working. For people who are already in the serverless way of working, we do not have any issues about that. But for people who's going to go, you will also hear the result by 15th of November. The CADAM or the Chief Architect team will come up with a solutioning for that. And if at all, if we have to move away from serverless and if we have to move to containers or Kubernetes, then what we lose is like we have to explore that, to be honest. I have no idea about how Kubernetes work, so I should know what is Kubernetes. So I have to invest time to learn and understand how Kubernetes work. Also on the other side is like, for me, for my use case, I felt serverless is very good because I really don't need to care about the infrastructure, right? It's like function as service, but now it's more like platform as a service or software as a service, so which I don't want to be. Well, you can always go back to the bank and you can always challenge them. That's a good thing about being a DevOps, because now you are one team, so everybody in the team will be contentful and they will challenge everybody. Cool. Any other questions? So, if no questions, then I would like to say thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. Hold on, because you had a lot of questions. Which two were the best?
Okay. You should have told this before. I didn't think about that. The one over there, I really don't know his name. Yeah, you with the beard? Yes. And the one in the front.
One in the front?
Yeah.
You both win a ticket for a conference. So please, please come to me in the break and then I write your email address and I send your ticket in digital to you. And for all the others, I would like to, there is a presence list available. Can you please sign in so we know who is here and who didn't show up? Because we have a lot of no-shows and we want to learn from that. Thanks. There are drinks now in the break. And see you back at 20 minutes. Thanks.
No, it was perfectly good. I was happy.